Do you ever feel like the more you understand the world, the less others understand you? You've cultivated a mind that can see patterns, grasp complex ideas, and ask the deep questions. Yet this very brilliance often seems to put an invisible wall between you and everyone else. It's a strange feeling. The deeper your thoughts, the more you feel alone. You're smart, you're aware, and you're lonely. This isn't just about finding the right social group or being too smart for your own good. It's a deeper, more uncomfortable truth lurking beneath the surface. It's that feeling of trying to share a vivid dream with someone who can only see shadows. You speak, you explain, but the true meaning, the real insight, seems to get lost, leaving you with a quiet ache of disconnect. What if this loneliness isn't an accident, but a specific, almost destined experience for those who think profoundly? Today we're going to dive into this very question with Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist. We're not just talking about feeling sad. We're exploring a fundamental part of the human mind and how it interacts with the world. Jung didn't just guess. He exposed a dark truth about why the most brilliant minds often face the most profound isolation. Stay with me, because understanding this isn't about blaming society or feeling sorry for yourself. It's about recognizing a powerful, often hidden aspect of your own psyche. This insight will not only explain why you might feel this way, but it will also shift how you see your own unique journey and your place in the world. So let's begin our journey into Jung's insights. When we talk about feeling alone, it often feels like an external problem, right? Like, if only I could find the right people, or if only they understood me. But Jung flips this perspective. He suggests that a significant part of this loneliness stems not from what's outside of you, but from what's deeply inside you. And, how that inner world interacts with the outer world. It's a profound idea, one that really asks us to look inward before looking outward. Now, one of Jung's most accessible ideas, and a really great starting point for understanding this loneliness, is what he calls the persona. Think of the persona as, well, a mask. Not necessarily a fake one, though, but more like the face you present to the world. It's the role you play in society, the part of yourself that's acceptable and functional in different situations. You have a persona for work, one for your family, one for your friends. It's how we fit in, how we navigate social expectations. For most people, adjusting their persona is a relatively smooth process. They can adapt, blend in, and find common ground. But what about you? If you're a deep thinker, a really smart person, you might find this act of presenting a persona incredibly challenging and, quite often, exhausting. Why? Because your authentic inner world, that part of you filled with complex thoughts, profound insights, and maybe unconventional perspectives, well, it often just doesn't fit neatly into any ready-made persona. Imagine trying to explain quantum physics at a casual barbecue. You instantly feel the need to simplify, to dull down, to almost, hide the true complexity of your thoughts, just to avoid blank stares or that awkward silence. That's the persona at work, asking you to conform. The problem is, though, for someone with a brilliant mind, this constant simplification, this constant holding back of your true intellectual capacity, it can really feel like a betrayal of self. You're trying to share a vivid, detailed painting, but you can only describe it in stick figures. The effort to maintain a persona, one that doesn't fully represent your depth, well, that creates a fundamental disconnect. It's a real feeling of inauthenticity. It's lonely, isn't it? To feel like you always have to be less than you are, just to be understood or accepted. And this effort, it drains your energy, leaving less for genuine connection, and further contributing to that quiet ache of disconnect. Now, beneath the persona, behind the mask we show the world, lies another crucial Jungian concept, the shadow. It's everything you've rejected about yourself, everything you've deemed unacceptable or undesirable. That still lives within your unconscious mind. It's not necessarily evil. It's simply the parts of you that haven't been brought into the light of awareness, the aspects you'd rather not admit to. For a smart person, The shadow can hold some particularly uncomfortable truths that contribute to loneliness. Consider this. You might consciously value humility and connection, but your shadow might contain a hidden sense of intellectual superiority, a subtle arrogance that makes it hard to truly relate to others without judgment. Or perhaps your shadow holds the fear of being truly seen. The fear that if others did understand your depth, they would reject you, or you would somehow overwhelm them. You might repress your true intensity, your passionate pursuit of knowledge, because you've learned it makes others uncomfortable. This internal suppression creates a wall within you, a wall between your conscious self and your shadow. But this internal wall doesn't stay internal, it projects outwards. It makes it harder to be fully present and open with others, because you're constantly managing and hiding parts of yourself. How can you truly connect when you're not fully yourself? This internal struggle, this hiding of your own intellectual power, or even the potential arrogance that comes with it, leads to a profound sense of isolation. You're not just lonely for others, you're lonely within yourself, split between who you are and who you feel you must pretend to be. It's a dark truth. Your very brilliance, when suppressed or unexamined, can cast a long shadow of loneliness. Moving deeper, Jung also talked about psychic energy, or what he called libido. Now, not in the sexual sense, but as a general life force, an energy that powers all our psychological activities. We all have a certain amount of this energy, and where we direct it, well, it shapes our experience. For many people, a significant portion of their psychic energy is directed outwards, towards social interactions, building external achievements, and participating in the common activities of life. But if you're a deeply analytical or reflective person, where does a large part of your psychic energy go? Well, it's often directed inward, into the vast, complex landscape of your own mind. It's spent on processing information, forming intricate connections, delving into abstract ideas, solving internal puzzles, and building rich, detailed inner worlds. This isn't a flaw, by the way. It's simply how your mind is wired. Think about it. You might spend hours lost in a book, or contemplating a philosophical problem, or dissecting a complex system in your head. This is deeply satisfying for you. But what happens when you then try to engage in superficial small talk? The energy you've cultivated and used so effectively in your inner world, it just doesn't easily translate to brief, light social exchanges. You might feel drained by conversations that lack depth, not because you dislike the people, but because your psychic energy isn't stimulated in the way it's used to. Your inner world is so vibrant and consuming that the outer world, sometimes, can feel muted or less engaging. This difference in how psychic energy is directed naturally creates a barrier, making genuine connection feel more effortful and less fulfilling. And that leads to a unique kind of loneliness that stems from a profoundly active inner life. This leads us to another critical Jungian concept that illuminates our loneliness: projection and the mirror effect. Projection, you see, is when we unconsciously take something from our own inner world, our thoughts, feelings, or qualities, especially those from our shadow, and attribute it to others. For smart people, this often manifests in a few ways. You might unconsciously project your own depth of thought, your own curiosity, or your own need for intellectual stimulation onto others. You assume that because you operate at a certain level, others will naturally understand or be interested in the same complex ideas. So, you speak, you explain, you share your insights, expecting a reciprocal level of engagement. But then, you're met with blank stares, polite nods, or a swift change of topic. This experience isn't just disappointing. It feels like a painful rejection, confirming that invisible wall you feel. The loneliness here comes from that shattered expectation, the realization that the world isn't always a mirror, reflecting your own intellectual intensity back at you. On the flip side, others often project their own discomfort, insecurities, or limitations onto the smart person. If someone is uncomfortable with intellectual depth, they might project that discomfort onto you, labeling you as too intense, aloof, arrogant, or overthinking. They might even see your analytical mind as a threat, or your quiet contemplation as standoffishness. This is the mirror effect at play. Their own internal landscape is reflected back at you in their perception. You might be genuinely trying to connect, but their projections create a distorted mirror, reflecting a version of you that isn't true, making genuine connection incredibly difficult. You feel misunderstood, misjudged, and ultimately alone, not because of who you are, but because of what others project onto you. This isn't about blaming them. It's about understanding a fundamental psychological dynamic that deepens the isolation for those who stand out intellectually. Now, let's explore a concept that truly highlights the unique experience of the deep thinker: the collective unconscious and archetypes. Jung proposed that beyond our personal unconscious, there's a deeper, shared layer of the mind, the collective unconscious, inherited by all humanity. Within it reside universal patterns of thought, images, and symbols, which he called archetypes. These are like blueprints for human experience: the hero, the sage, the mother, the shadow, the anima/animus, and so on. Here's where it gets profound for the lonely smart person. Those with a highly developed mind often have a more direct or intense connection to this collective unconscious. They naturally perceive deeper patterns, recognize archetypal dynamics in everyday life, and intuitively grasp universal truths that others might miss. Their thinking isn't just about surface-level facts. It delves into the fundamental structures of reality and human experience. Imagine trying to explain a complex, multi-layered dream you had, full of profound symbols and hidden meanings, to someone who only talks about their grocery list. That's how it can feel for the smart person operating from this deeper level of awareness. You might instinctively see the larger narrative, the societal myths, the archetypal forces at play in a situation, while others are focused purely on the literal, superficial details. This isn't a criticism of others. It's simply a difference in how deeply one dips into the universal wellspring of knowledge. Because you're tapping into these deeper currents, your normal often deviates significantly from the mainstream. Your questions are deeper, your insights more abstract, your understanding of human nature more nuanced. This can make everyday conversation feel like speaking a different language. You might try to share a profound insight, only to find it met with a polite shrug, because it doesn't resonate with their current level of archetypal awareness or their focus on the mundane. This fundamental difference in how reality is perceived and processed creates a chasm, leading to a profound loneliness born from the very depth of your perception. You feel alone because you're seeing and experiencing a reality that few others seem to perceive in the same way. And this brings us to what Jung considered the ultimate purpose of human life: individuation. Individuation is the lifelong psychological process of integrating your conscious and unconscious aspects, including your persona, your shadow, your archetypes, into a unique, whole, and coherent self. It's the journey of becoming who you truly are, not who society or others expect you to be. It's about finding your own unique path and purpose, independent of the collective. This process, by its very nature, is a solitary one. No one else can individuate for you. It requires deep introspection, confronting uncomfortable truths within yourself, and making choices that might go against the grain of social norms. For smart people, this journey often begins earlier, is more intense, and is driven by a relentless, internal push for truth and authenticity. Your very intellect compels you to question, to analyze, to dig deeper, pushing you further along the path of individuation. But here's the dark truth about individuation and loneliness. The more you individuate, the more unique you become. You see, the more you integrate your authentic self, the less you'll fit into conventional molds. The person who truly knows themselves, who has faced their shadow and understood their unique archetypal journey, well, they'll naturally diverge from the herd mentality. You become a specialist in your own being, and specialists, they're pretty rare. Think of historical figures, for instance, Socrates. He dared to question everything, and was ultimately condemned for it. Or Galileo, who challenged the accepted view of the cosmos and faced persecution. Even modern figures like Alan Turing, whose groundbreaking work in computing led to his tragic isolation. These were highly individuated minds. Their brilliance and commitment to truth truly set them apart, often at great personal cost. They were lonely, not despite their brilliance, but because of it. Their journey of individuation, you see, pulled them far from the common path. For you, the drive to understand, to see beyond the surface, to forge your own path, that's a powerful engine of individuation. And while it leads to profound self-realization, it also, quite naturally, leads to a form of separation. You become more distinctly you. And that distinctness can feel, well, isolating, in a world that often prizes conformity. Finally, we come to a concept I call the will to truth, a powerful, relentless drive to seek and understand reality, even when that reality is uncomfortable or challenging. While not a direct Jungian term, it resonates deeply with the spirit of his work and the experience of smart, deep thinkers. You're not content with superficial answers or comforting illusions. You want to know why. You want to see the underlying structures. You want to strip away the pretense and find the raw, unvarnished truth. This relentless pursuit of truth is a core part of your intellectual identity. It's what makes you question societal norms, challenge outdated beliefs, and refuse to accept things at face value. But most people, understandably, prefer comfort over discomfort. They prefer the security of established beliefs, the warmth of shared illusions, and the ease of not having to critically examine everything. When you, with your will to truth, enter a conversation or a social setting, you might inadvertently disrupt this comfort. You might ask a question that makes others uncomfortable, point out a contradiction they'd rather ignore, or reveal a deeper, perhaps less flattering reality. You're not doing it to be difficult. You're doing it because that's simply how your mind operates. You see, the quote, "emperor has no clothes," and your natural inclination is to point it out. This can be incredibly alienating. People might recoil, see you as a threat to their peace, or simply not understand why you can't just go along to get along. Your commitment to truth can make you seem challenging, even confrontational, to those who value harmony and conformity above all else. The loneliness here stems from the profound disconnect between your inherent drive to uncover truth and the majority's preference for comforting fictions. You stand outside the consensus, not out of choice, but out of a deeply ingrained psychological necessity. You are lonely because you see what others cannot or will not see, and that vision sets you apart. So, when we bring all these Jungian concepts together, the struggle with the persona, the unseen influence of the shadow, the unique channeling of psychic energy, the miscommunications caused by projection and the mirror effect, the deeper perceptions from the collective unconscious, and the solitary journey of individuation, driven by an unwavering will to truth, a dark truth emerges about why smart people often feel profoundly lonely. It's not a flaw in you. It's not a failing on your part to be more social or to dumb yourself down. This loneliness is, in many ways, a byproduct of your psychological makeup, a natural consequence of your depth, your awareness, and your relentless pursuit of understanding. It's the price you pay for seeing more, knowing more, and striving for a more profound and authentic existence. Your very strengths, your intellectual capacity, your insight, your drive for truth, they're the very things that pull you away from the typical paths of connection. This isn't about blaming society or feeling sorry for yourself. It's about recognizing a powerful, often hidden aspect of your own psyche. This insight will not only explain why you might feel this way, but it'll also shift how you see your own unique journey and your place in the world. So we've journeyed deep into the mind with Carl Jung today, looking at why being a deep thinker often comes with a unique kind of loneliness. We saw how the persona, that social mask we wear, can feel like a cage for your true complex self, forcing you to simplify your thoughts just to fit in. We explored the shadow, those hidden parts of you, like unspoken intellectual superiority or a fear of being truly seen. When these parts are unexamined, they can create invisible walls between you and others, making genuine connection feel impossible because you're constantly holding back. We understood how your powerful psychic energy is naturally drawn inward into the vast landscapes of your own thoughts. This makes the outer world, especially small talk, sometimes feel muted or less engaging, leading to a quiet, almost internal isolation. We talked about how projection makes you unconsciously expect others to be as deep or curious as you are, leading to disappointment when they're not. And how the mirror effect means others might project their discomfort onto you, labeling you as too intense or aloof, making you feel profoundly misunderstood. We even touched on the collective unconscious and archetypes, explaining why your unique perception of reality, seeing deeper patterns and universal truths, can set you apart, making common conversations feel like speaking different languages. And finally, we saw that the journey of individuation, your unique path to becoming truly yourself, is by its very nature a solitary one. Your inherent will to truth naturally pushes you away from comforting illusions and often from the easy path of the crowd. When you bring all these ideas together, a powerful dark truth emerges. This loneliness isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's not a failure on your part to be more outgoing or to try harder to fit in. Instead, it's a natural result, almost a specific byproduct of your unique psychological makeup. It's the price, and perhaps the profound privilege, of seeing more, feeling more, and understanding more. Your intelligence, your deep insights, your relentless drive to find the truth. These are not weaknesses you need to fix or hide. They are your greatest strengths, the very core of your unique brilliance. But these very strengths naturally pull you away from the common paths of connection that work for most people. Your mind is like a highly specialized instrument, perfectly tuned to explore the deepest complexities of the universe, but not always easily understood by those with a more general toolset. Remember that feeling we talked about at the very beginning of this video? That sense of the more you understand the world, the less others seem to understand you? That quiet ache of disconnect? Jung helps us see that this isn't just a fleeting emotion. It's a fundamental aspect of the human experience for those who think profoundly and refuse to shy away from uncomfortable truths. You're not alone in feeling this kind of loneliness. In fact, for countless profound minds throughout history, thinkers like Socrates, who was condemned for his questions, or groundbreaking scientists such as Alan Turing, whose brilliance led to tragic isolation, this deep, intellectual isolation has been a constant companion on their path. Their loneliness wasn't a personal flaw or a social failing. It was a natural consequence of their extraordinary depth, their unwavering commitment to truth, and their advanced journey of individuation. If you recognize yourself in their journey, then know this: you're in profound company. You're part of a long lineage of thinkers whose very vision sets them apart. So, what do we do with this dark truth? Do we simply accept it and retreat even further into our own minds, resigning ourselves to a life of isolation? Not at all. Understanding this isn't about wallowing in loneliness or simply blaming the world for not being ready for your truth. It's about powerful empowerment. It's about recognizing the true nature of your psychological landscape, and perhaps, finally giving yourself permission to be exactly who you are. When you truly understand why you feel this way, the feeling itself begins to transform. It becomes less about being broken or incomplete, and more about being uniquely formed. It becomes a validation of your authentic path, not a condemnation. This knowledge can free you from the exhausting cycle of constantly trying to force yourself into social molds that simply don't fit your intellectual and emotional size. It allows you to embrace your intellectual intensity, your reflective nature, and your relentless drive for truth, not as burdens you must carry, but as core parts of who you are, the very essence of your being. This doesn't mean you stop seeking connection entirely. Quite the opposite. It means you seek connection on your own terms, with a clearer understanding of your own deep needs and the complex psychological dynamics at play. You might find that your circle of truly understanding connections becomes smaller, but the connections themselves can become infinitely deeper, more meaningful, and rooted in genuine mutual understanding, rather than forced conformity or superficial exchanges. You learn to cherish those rare moments and individuals who truly get you. This insight asks you to fundamentally shift how you see your own unique journey and your extraordinary place in the world. It's an invitation to step boldly into your authentic self, fully aware of the distinctness that comes with it, and to understand that this distinctness is your strength, not your weakness. Now, I want to hear directly from you. Has this video resonated with you on a deep level? Have you felt this specific kind of loneliness, perhaps without ever truly understanding why? What are your experiences trying to bridge the gap between your rich inner world and the often demanding outer world? Share your thoughts, your struggles, and your insights in the comments below. Let's start a real conversation, a dialogue among those who truly understand what it means to be a deep thinker in a world that often struggles to keep up. Your experiences are incredibly valuable, and sharing them helps others realize they're not alone on this unique journey. And if you found this exploration helpful, if you're looking to dive even deeper into the profound insights of Carl Jung or other great thinkers from history and unravel more uncomfortable but liberating truths about the human mind and our place in the complex tapestry of existence, then make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Join our growing community of curious minds who aren't afraid to ask the big questions, challenge conventional thinking, and seek uncomfortable truths, because that's where true understanding begins. We're just getting started on this shared journey of self-discovery and profound understanding. Your next insight is just a click away. Thank you for watching, and remember, your unique depth isn't a curse, but a powerful, brilliant gift waiting to be fully embraced and understood. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep exploring.